Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and to continue this getting started into Wargaming month, I almost said Warhammer there, I think there's something that needs to be spoken about, and again, this is kind of one of those things you rarely hear people talking about, but I think it's vitally important that you do this one thing, and it is only one thing, believe it or not. And it seems quite simple in theory, yet in practice it can be more difficult to realise. And that is, know what you like. See, wargaming is a massive hobby. It is one of the biggest, if not biggest, hobbies in the world. Now, we're not talking financially here, we're just talking about choice and diversity and, options. There's just so much of it, and I've covered what I can so far, and I was going to do next steps today, but I've decided this one's a bit more important than the next steps in your army. That one's coming tomorrow, and next week I've got some reviews coming up of actual starter sets. However, today it is going to be about knowing what you like, and unfortunately, like most of these videos where I try to be objective, I have to be more subjective in this video, mainly because I cannot talk for you guys. I cannot talk for you. So if I was to say I don't like something, or you might like it, I can't change your mind. Also, if I say if I don't like something or I prefer something, that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's awful. It's just not to my preferred taste. And that's all this means. This is just knowing what you like. And I can only use myself as an example here. I cannot talk again for anyone else because it's just not right for me to do that. Now this intro has rambled on enough. Let's actually get ahead with this. See, when you know what you like, buying your minis and what game you're going to play does become a lot easier, and you tend to stick to the same army for a very long time. I've played Eldar for 20 plus years now, and yeah, I still call them Eldar because I've been playing them for 20 plus years, because even though I don't do Games Workshop games anymore or buy Warhammer, but the Eldar is a good example of me knowing what I like. I like armies which are diverse, are very fast, tend to be glass cannons, and that's the sort of thing I like. I like fast armies which are very diverse and hit hard but can die quickly. For me, the diversity part, if you've been watching my videos, is always about variation of models, and I really enjoy that about the Eldari. I've got Warp Spiders, Striking Scorpions, Swooping Hawks, Fire Dragons, Storm Guardians, Scouts, Shroud Runners, Wind Runners, Viper Jet Bikes, the Harlequin Jet Bikes, Harlequins, Wraith Lords, War Walkers, Farseers, Spirit Seers. You see what I mean? So this is what I'm talking about. See, that's my army. And as you can see, I have a vast collection of different models in my army. It's a big army, it has many units, but there is an amazing amount of diversity in there. And this also goes with my Chaos Army as well. With my Chaos Army, I have thousands. I have Rubric Marines, Khorne Berserkers, and Plague Marines, and normal Chaos Marines. Because, again, I like to have different variations of models. I'm not a big fan of painting the same thing over and over again. It's one of the reasons I don't like Orcs or Imperial Guard. Orcs, even though you have like mega knobs and bosses and all that, they are just, in my opinion, just bigger orcs. So I will be painting orcs all the time rather than lots of different variations of a theme. See, and when it comes to models as well, I do like a more complicated model to build. I've said this many times, my favourite part of the hobby is building. It's one of the reasons I enjoy doing Lego, especially the Technic stuff, which is far more technical, it has more moving parts, stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff I enjoy. I like the more complicated models to build. Eldar tends to be more complicated because it's a little bit more fiddly, makes me swear at them a lot more, but it is something I enjoy. I also enjoy the aesthetic as well. So, the fact is, because I know exactly what I like, when I go ahead and go into a new game, I can go, okay, I'll look at this new game, what sort of things suit my needs? What army is incredibly diverse? And unfortunately, when World War X is involved, there is almost every faction is very diverse. But to me, Warrior Nations and the Hex tend to be the most diverse out of the two. Warrior Nations, you have your normal Native Americans, such as Wolf's Looking, Ghost Wolf, and Raven Spirit, but you have their legendary editions as well, and Wolf Spirit, Ghost Wolf is now a big werewolf, but I have werewolves, big flying birds, people riding birds, ringed people. Like I said, I chose that faction because it's a fast faction, it is hard hitting when it does, and there's a lot of variety and diversity in the model. It suits me. And also, the thing is with Warcradle models, they are slightly more complicated and a bit more fiddly for a lot of the models. But some are single molds, and that's why I enjoy that army. And I enjoy Warcradle models as a whole anyway. See, like if I say to One Page One or rules models, the actual models you can buy from mymini.com, which is they're good looking models, do not get me wrong, I'm not complaining about how the models look. The quality is pretty good. I've had no problems with the quality. I've got a couple now. My issue is that they are single mold models. I do not like single mold models. There is no building involved, so I do not enjoy those models. This is not me saying the models are bad. The models are fine. They look great. They're nice looking models. They're well printed. There's everything you want to expect. But because of where I am, and building is one of my favourite parts of the hobby, a single mold model kind of doesn't do it for me. It's another reason why I tend to have lots of vehicles in my armies. And there's not a single army I have which doesn't have at least 4 vehicles. And I mean 4, except for World of Exodus, because there's not any real vehicles in there, but I do have like Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds I'll go. The Firebird, the Great Eagle, I have like Gustav Eiffel, anything that could kind of be a vehicle is in there as well. And the reason for that is because vehicles tend to be a little bit more tricky to build, and they take a little bit more time to build and paint before you put them on the field. And this, again, that's the sort of thing I enjoy. And like I said, because I know what I enjoy and what I like, when I do move to another game, like I'm moving to Bolt Action, and I'm moving to Conquest, and I'm moving to more Mantic games, I can look at this different armies and go, okay, Bolt Action's a bit different here, I'll get to that in a minute, and I can go, hey, right, Conquest, I like the necromantic style of the spires, I like the darkness of them, and they tend to be a nice diverse army, which very lots of different variations in the models there. I don't think there's any actually vehicles in Conquest. Actually, there's a couple, but the Spires tends to appeal to me, and so does the 100 Kingdoms. 100 Kingdoms can be a very diverse and fast army. Again, I see these, and it's like, that's the sort of style I like, and that's where I'll go to. And same with Mantic. I've gone to the Astarians. They have that elvish aesthetic I like in all games. Like I said, even in like RPGs, I will try and play an elf at all times, usually a rogue elf. And the Astarians kind of fill that niche for me. They're also a fast army, they tend to be a bit of a glass cannon, and this is what I enjoy. And that's the only bit of advice I can really give you, is when you get to that point where you're like, I know what you like, and you can go, right, I'm going to move to this different game, and this is what I like playing, this is the theme I like playing as, this is my play style. I can really get into this game now because I found the army that fits me. And that's when it really starts coming together, when you start exploring the hobby as a whole and not just one game. So, when it comes to historical gaming, as I've said before, I'm not the biggest fan of historical gaming, but I've been told Bolt Action is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing that. I've got my box coming tomorrow. I got the Gentleman's War because I want to play as the Brits, and that Humber really sold their Brits for me. But because I'm British, to be honest with you. I'm also part German, so I have a German army too, but I'm going with the Brits. And so with historical, I think there's something more personal about the army you choose. I'm not saying if you pick the Nazis, you're a Nazi, alright? I'm not saying that. That's absolutely not true. I'm saying when it comes to these armies, people tend to go with what they are. Like, if you're British, you tend to go for a British army. If you're American, you tend to go for an American army. It's just with historical, you tend to see it a bit more clear. That might just be me, though. Like, if I was to go for something like Hail Caesar, I would probably pick the Celts or the Britons there. not just because I'm British, but because of the area of Britain I'm from, they tended to give the Romans a run for their money as well. We literally have no area called Chester here, which kind of says a lot about where I'm from. Chester comes from an old Roman word meaning camp. Anyway, that's what I mean. So knowing what you like is very important when it comes to wargaming, and I think it's something a lot of people need to sort of learn. It's not an easy path because you've got lots of choice. You kind of go, right, I like the look of these models, but they don't fit your play style. But you can adapt a lot of armies to your play style as well. And like I said, I like nice fast armies which are diverse, and models is one reason I love the Blood Angels, because they're a fast army and there's 3 different types of units there. You have Death Company, Sanguinary Guard, and of course the normal Blood Angels, let alone Terminators as well. So there you go. This is just a bit of an interesting video. I will be doing next steps tomorrow. I'm sorry I was meant to do it today. I do apologise, but this one came to mind and I thought this is a little bit more important. Anyway, if you're getting into wargaming, don't forget Wayland Games down below for up to 20% off your wargaming and free delivery off to £20. There's also Forbidden Planet as well, comics, DVDs, mangas, all that geek merchandise. My merchandise, stickers, notebooks, t-shirts, my comics as well, which have Little Red Riding Hood going ham on some cyborg werewolves, and there's a horror anthology as well. But don't forget Skyforge. Skyforge, he's a good friend of mine and I want to support him as much as I can. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye bye.